Welcome to Think Property Club's Think Tank, where we connect, share, and learn the tips and hacks from our specialists. They become part of our A team, supporting us to create the best developments in the property game. Hi guys, welcome to today's Think Property webinar. We've got awesome session for you today. We'll be hearing about the latest tips and design ideas from a very amazing interior designer here in Queensland in Gold Coast. She's done some of our beautiful students' projects. She's got tons of experience with developers, and we're really excited and really lucky to have her come on today during her very busy schedule. I know, coming up to Christmas, finishing projects, and she's literally come off a project to jump in to talk to you today. So if you can't be on today, I know you'll love all these tips that you're going to learn from Bree. So welcome, Bree.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your tips today, because I know a lot of students, not just in Queensland, from all around Australia who are working on different projects. And I know you can talk a little bit about servicing other students in other areas too with what you do. And I love I feel like you've got this luxury design that you put onto developments, and also knowing how to handle developers, right? And their expectations, different to your mum and dad, right? And it's really important when you're working on a project to work with consultants, designers who understand that it is a project and what sort of demographic, price point, and target market you're hitting. And I think that's why, Bree, you're really good at doing what you're doing in understanding that. So I'm going to let you run the slides. And look, if you've got any questions, please put it on the chat group, and Bree can answer them towards the end. If you do have any questions, put in the chat for now. So welcome, Bree. I'll let you take over.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I don't want to bore you. I know it's busy. I know everyone is busy. I'm very busy leading up to Christmas. So I've put together a couple of slides and I'm not at all tech savvy. So you really have to bear with me. I think 2025 it's good. It's exciting. And yeah, very, very, very important topic that Amy did mention, and that is it's a development, and really taking that element of emotion out of it is so crucial. I know we all want to put our little spin on it, and amazing, go for it, but you just have to be really, really, really mindful of how much of that you put into that, because you really can overcapitalize in a lot of areas. So a lot of my slides this time are, yes, go for it, add color, add a bit of you, don't be so safe like we've done in the past, but just really tailoring where we use those features. And there's so much to choose from these days. It's amazing, and choosing local products is obviously ideal, and that's what we want to do. But we'll run through the slides, otherwise I'm going to talk all day and get totally sidetracked. But yeah, I have worked with a number of developers on the Gold Coast and across Australia, primarily Gold Coast. And then I'm from Sydney originally, so I do like working in areas that I know, because it's really, really important to do the research on the area that you guys are going to develop in. So knowing your target market, knowing, what schools are around, the architecture that's around, what sells, your clientele, that really, really, really important that you get to know exactly who you are pitching these developments to. It's key. Making sure that, you've done your research on your builders, because constantly we hear of, devastating news on particular builders and things like that. So that's key as well. But I think that's a no-brainer. I not everyone is going to say, oh, we need a designer. The way that I work, and especially with developers and builders is we work together, and that's really, really crucial. I've actually been in some scenarios where builders will say, nope, I'm not working with a designer. Nope, nope, nope. And that is because a lot of the time a designer will create this beautiful design and stunning, absolutely stunning. It doesn't even come close to meeting budgets. It doesn't come close to so many things that the builder has already signed a contract for that developer to ensure that there are budget restraints, everything is aligned and everything has a costing for that. And that is really key. Otherwise, what happens is the schedules go to the client. They look amazing. The client then gets attached to this. This is going to be brilliant. This is going to be great. They take it to the builder and the builder goes, hang on, we need to have a look at all these costs and we need to reassess everything and start over again. And it's actually a bit of a nightmare, and everyone, it's back to the drawing board, basically. So that's where I guess my perspective on these is a little bit different to others, and really addressing that with the builder and the developer straight up is so crucial, just to ensure that everyone's on the same page and everyone has the same goal and focus in mind, and that is to create the best product on the market for your particular budget and what your outcome is. And when you get that, it's actually a really smooth process. So again, sidetracked, that's what I do best. So basically a bit about myself. I've worked on the Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne. I've got, people today moving up from Melbourne, but happy to help wherever I can. And even if it's just some advice, feel free to drop me an email, Instagram, whatever you want, and happy to help, and even, possibly put you in the right direction if I can. So we'll jump to the next slide if we can. I'm not even doing this myself. Great, perfect. And I've popped up a couple of pictures to help. So a couple of things that are a little bit different 2025 and moving forward. Previously, we've always kept it pretty safe. And I guess that's the best thing when you're looking at resale of these properties. You are developers. Making money is the end goal, basically. There are lots of things coming in and now that kind of, I guess, to a certain degree are what people expect from a base product. There is now, you've got your little wine bars, or, there might be under, a cellar under the stairs and things like that you'll just see popping up. And thank you very much. The block has introduced all these things that drive us all crazy, but I guess that's the expectation of what people expect these days. People are definitely, I guess it's really fun. They're putting in what they think, I don't know, a bit of a touch of themselves. Color is massive. We've always kind of been a little bit on the safe side, and it's really coming in big time. So in your cabinetry, in your paint colors on your walls, we've always kind of gone, well, let's keep it really, really neutral and quite simple, which is great. And it does attract a big market, don't get me wrong. But it's just nice to see some changes coming in. There's some really good tips and tricks when it comes to choosing what colors, because not all colors are fantastic. So I guess that's what you just have to be really careful of, mindful of. And whether or not that's just reaching out to a color consultant. Dulux I use a lot. I guess there's other brands as well that are really, really helpful for that. But happy to answer anyone's questions regarding colors and how to do it right, I guess. Eco-driven products. This is just continuously growing every single year. And, that could be from eco-friendly paints. Lots and lots and lots of paint companies are now starting to implement these, lower toxins, things like that. Floorboards, makes, how they make them, all of these things come into play, and people are just doing more and more research. Water filters are another thing that's just people are wanting to add in. So, also when you're doing your budget and you want to add all these extra things like, I've had a client want to do ice baths and filtered water and all of these things. And sometimes, you do narrow down that potential buyer, and you can cut out a lot of people because a lot of people might think, well, I don't want to pay for that. I'm not going to use that, but I love the building. So sometimes just having the allowances for people to be able to add those on is also a really good idea too. Just making sure that there's going to be a fixture for that, or potential, I guess, if it's ice baths and things like that, structural surrounds are all taken into account, because the last thing you want to do is pop an ice bath on your balcony and it fall through into your bathroom. So things like that we really need to be wary of, and just making sure that throughout the build your end goal is all noted, because these are things you can add on, and making sure that there's resources there down the track is also a really good idea.
Bree, I
Um,
love that. Can I add, we do that as like an extra package with our selling agents.
yep,
And, I think those health eco-driven ideas has really come into play in the last couple of years. But we used to do an investor pack for kind of more basic living room, balcony ideas, and then we'd do a homeowner one, which will then put the barbecue. Nowadays they want the sauna, ice bath. They want a whole spa in their house, right?
absolutely.
I do.
Yep.
I love it. So, I think, any family home, these are all the extras you kind of got to think of to be able to sell your product and stand out.
Absolutely. And I know
Yeah,
that, depending on what the plan is, if it's selling off the plan or you want to wait till it's built, all those kinds of things. And I've touched on this previously when I've done one of these seminars, is there is nothing worse than being a potential buyer and looking at a product that's on realestate.com or online somewhere, and it looks phenomenal. You've got this beautiful pendant and this integrated dishwasher and integrated fridge, and everything looks immaculate, and you've got herringbone flooring. Then you go to purchase and none of that is included. It is all extra, extra, extra. So I always will suggest exactly that, having your standard package and then
yeah,
having a package that everything is available that's on that render. So you can get that light, you can get that flooring, you can get all your integrated products. That's fine. There is It's very frustrating now with AI and lots of different things too that a lot of designers are using, where the
yeah.
buyer says, well, I want that pendant in the kitchen. And that pendant actually doesn't exist because they've bought
My
it from
goodness.
AI. And it's just like, what? What are you doing? Because a lot of people can't actually see things and use their imagination. That's what they want. They want that bedroom suite. They want all the linen, and that should be really available to them. So for
Percent.
me, I love to make sure that everything I select, there is a link where possible for that
Yep.
builder, for that client, for the developer. So they can go in and they can zoom in, they can look at the specs, they can make sure it's going to fit, they can make sure everything is there, and that's exactly what they're going to get in that room. So whether or not you're reaching out to a designer or you're doing it yourself or anything like that, the biggest thing and the most easiest way to get your head around looking at a whole build or a whole project is breaking it down just room by room, and
Mhm.
then looking at the whole picture. So you could do your facade, your external finishes, then you break it down and everything is listed and nothing is missed. But I feel that that is the best way and the most streamlined way to create a finishing schedule for any project. And it
Mm.
just becomes not so overwhelming. And it just, yeah, it's nice and seamless for everybody, the builder, yourself, just
Mhm.
everybody involved. And then once it's finalized and everything meets the budgets and everything is approved, that includes all your cabinetry and everything in the schedule, that everyone gets a copy of that. And there's no way, well, it does happen still. There's no way it can't be, relayed through everybody. Even a tradesman that's come on site that,
Yep.
taken over somebody, they can say, well, what mirror goes in this room? It's all there. It's all there. And it's you just can't muck it up. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're going through these steps and producing a schedule of finishes. But yeah, back to the slides, I guess. Some more trends I feel, and this is more going this time, I guess, into furnishings. Not so much what we've done in the past. So hopefully these are kind of where you want to be. But just when you're looking at key items to put into your homes, I am seeing that I guess gradually, and I guess for next year it will be huge, is quality over quantity. And we've seen in the past so many, I guess, items from IKEA and all that kind of stuff is great. But a lot more people spending a lot more money and investing on really key pieces to keep for a long period of time. And I've seen, different trends. And I guess that really comes into the trends that are coming in, which is mixing old and new and really putting your own touches on things. So that buffet that you've had forever that was handed down from, I guess, your mum or your grandma or somebody, you're now putting that into a living space and mixing it with new things as well, which is,
Love
it's
that.
just bringing in those touches. So really looking at those key pieces. And I've got another slide that will just let you know what I feel would be key pieces. So, you can always mix soft furnishings and change lighting and everything like that. It kind of can change the whole look, but some really key pieces is really crucial. Deeper, warmer tones, you would have definitely started to see these wherever you're living, even on the Gold Coast, where everything used to be white and boring, is now very, yeah, it's very different and it's a nice change. I really love it. You've got different finishes on tapware and door handles and window frames, and it's really nice to start seeing all of these things happen. It's giving warmth to projects and rooms and making them feel more comfortable. And you've seen this in the past in Melbourne. They do it really, really well. These
They
darker
do.
tones. You don't have to put them everywhere. Don't be too worried. You just, but add them in. It's really beautiful. A contrast between kitchen cabinetry and floorboards, but make it a contrast. Don't try and match it where it's not quite right. Go completely opposite. So the worst thing you can possibly do is really try and match something that's just not quite right. I'd rather see black and white than lots of different tones of beige. It just doesn't work. So yeah, really, really, really exciting that facades are darkening and internals are darkening and we're adding color. It's good. And it really is just identifying these different spaces, which is really, really fun. It's good.
Bree, I love this room. It's absolutely gorgeous with the
Yes,
sunken
you'll see lots of different
ending.
things coming into design. And one thing that I love, which we can never do in our place, is a sunken lounge room. I mean, that was so in
So
fashion
rare.
many years ago. But
Yeah.
they're really coming back in, which is just creating again these cozy spaces, different levels, different tones, and identifying these rooms more. And you'll see in another couple of slides that color drenching is so in, and it's fun.
Mm.
Don't be scared. You don't want to put it in every project and every home and things like that, but it is something that why not have a bit of fun? It's color. You can always paint over it. It's good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Again, just another slide on these darker tones, different finishes as well. You've got parquetry floor and herringbone floor and different uses of the same tones or similar tones, and creating different spaces with these finishes, which is kind of fun as well. And when we look at color drenching, it's tonal as well. So you might pick a blue or you might pick a green, and you can use different variations of this to create these spaces, which is it's really fun. So a bit on the color drenching. So it's really just choosing the right color, really. And then everything in that room just accentuates that color. So it might even you can add a pattern to a chair or a sofa, but really picking that undertone as that room color. So that means the roof, the ceiling, the architraves, your cornices, everything is drenched in this color. And it can be, when it's done right, it can be really special. Even if you want to just create that special cozy space that you go and you read your book in or whatever it is it might do. But yeah, it's a bit of fun. And thought I'd pop it in there because it's becoming very popular.
Yeah, that's a new
Again,
term for me, color drenching. I haven't heard that before, so I love it. Is it like the bathroom in the first picture where it was like all kind of dark blue, floors, walls,
exactly. Yep. Yep. And I
and
can send some more examples of that if anyone's interested. But,
yeah,
it might be not something that you want to do in a property that you want to put on the market. It can be a little bit scary. And that's probably one room if you haven't done it before. If you want to include it in a project that is going to be on the market, by all means, I would just suggest speaking to a designer or someone just to give you some tips and tricks on possibly the right tone to use that's going to flow with the whole space as well, because you don't just want to make it like, whoa, this room is crazy and the rest of the house is somewhat totally different. You still want it to be able to flow with the concept of that project.
yeah,
And if it's not for you, it's not for you. You don't have to do it at all by any means. And some people, if they do feel that they're not brave enough, maybe add some wallpaper, add a feature wall, sofa, something just to bring in some color. And beautiful rugs are just so key to do that. Bringing that into the sofa colors, things like that. But yeah, I think 2025 moving forward, let's have some fun.
mm,
Yeah, there's some beautiful cabinetry colors. Kitchen is such a key feature of the home, and we've seen for so long now. Timber on
mm,
timber on timber
yeah,
on timber. It's a bit
and white.
boring.
Yeah, I know.
It's really boring. And if you can't get the timber and the floorboards, exact, put a different color on the bottom of the cabinetry, mix it up somewhat, nothing better than walking into a space that's just a little bit different. But,
Yeah.
again, play it, get some advice. I would get some advice from a designer or somebody just to do that room right, because as we know, kitchen, living, dining is such a big selling point of the home, and the master bathroom, just it's got to be done right. And that's all I can say. They are such key rooms. If they're wrong, it's a really expensive fix. So do those right. But yeah, I think have fun with them. Tiles is another way that you can have fun. Tiles, there's so many tiles out there these days. Some are very expensive and some you can get an alternative to. So look at your budgets, look at the budgets the builder's given you, things like that. Yeah, some of the key pieces that I spoke about before are popping up, so we can go through those. Definitely dining table, sofa, sideboard, and beds. Chairs are a tricky one. Chairs, I do love a good comfortable chair, especially dining chairs. But when you're looking at 8, 10, 12, however many you need, they do add up. So
Mm,
those things, if you've got a good solid base dining table that's kind of timeless, you can mix and match all different chairs to that. So you can add modern chairs, you can add fabric chairs, whatever you want to do. But that key piece would be that dining table, which I think, can last years and years if you have a good one. But chairs, yeah, you can go, you can spend whatever you like from $50 to $5,000 depending on your budget. So if you have the money, so it's up to you guys with regards to that. But yeah, as I said, sideboards, things like that, and a good sofa. You can always recover a good sofa. Those lounge lovers, if you need something for an Airbnb or something like that, there's nothing wrong with them. But when we're looking at key pieces, that would be one of mine. Cool. And just a few key rooms that I would really focus on. And I know that list seems like nearly all the house, but there's really, a good facade, street appeal. That's what's going to sell. Like that's the first thing that everyone looks at, really. And it's really important. And I sound like I'm just listening to my own voice here because everyone's muted. But there is nothing like a potential buyer is going to see the facade of your house, and your internal finishes should be a reflection on that facade. You don't want to come and drive to what you've seen or driven past as, say, I'm going to use this word, Hampton style, which everyone has heard for years and years and probably over it. But when you walk into that, if that's what you've seen on the external finishes and that's what's, grabbed your attention and that's what you like, please make sure that your internal finishes reflect that and it's carried through. You might have a room here and there or some finishes that are a bit more modern or something, and it's nice to mix these. That's exactly perfect. But it really should reflect what's on the external finishes. Um, yeah, there's many times I'm like, what is happening here? And it might be super modern on the outside, and then internally it just doesn't really flow. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're doing your finishings. Kitchen, as we said before, it's such a key component of your build and your finished product. So making sure there's plenty of storage is always key. And I guess, when you're looking at developments, when you're looking at multi-res, 4-pack, 7-packs, that kind of thing, you are limited. So it's like, okay, you might not be able to have that rounded, beautiful island bench because you need to have as many cupboards as you need to underneath there. There's just things that you just need to take in mind that, yeah, you really need as much storage as possible. Try and avoid having, and it's whatever works, and sometimes this is the only thing that works. But if you have a 4-level residence and you can only put the laundry on the rooftop, try to avoid that. It's just not really functional. But in some cases, that's all that you can do. And I get that. It's one of those things. Spend money on your powder room. It's a very small room generally, but that's where your guests are going to go, and that's where you're going to use the majority of the time. It's generally on the same level as your entertaining space. It's a small room. Go to town, whack some wallpaper in, have some fun with your tiles. It's not an enormous room for a potential buyer to change, but I love walking into, a powder room or a bathroom and going, oh my gosh, go and have a look at that room. It's really cool. And it's fun. I do it in restaurants, I do it in resorts, wherever you're going to go. It's always good to have that one room where you go, wow, that's kind of cool. Have fun with the tapware, have fun with your mirror. It's just a room that's not very big. So that's kind of one that I always think, yeah, have a bit of fun in. Master bathroom, no brainer. I mean, generally speaking, someone's going to walk into that space and go, I really love that wardrobe and I love that master bathroom, and that's what's going to sell that property. So walk-in robes, if you can make it pretty fancy, go for it. Heaps of functional storage, shoes, hanging space, a really good combination of drawers. That kind of functionality is key. Making sure you have a linen cupboard where you can store your vacuum, your brooms, have that tall space, not everything so pokey, because that's just not functional either. And your backyard, if it's not fancy and it's not funky and it doesn't have a pool and things, just make it clean and tidy. Fencing is another one. And fencing, I know it sounds a bit funny, but obviously depending on your color palette and everything, I'm a big believer on dark fencing. So if you're looking at color bond, look at your night sky, look at your monument, look at darker tones, because greenery against dark is a lot better and a lot more wow factor than greenery on your surf mist flooring. And it just doesn't pop like it will on your darker tones. So just think about that when you're doing your finishing touches. And if it's brick and it's rendered, then paint it. But
And it's easier to keep clean when it's dark too.
it pays a lot of, there's an architect here and I love it. He has all these meetings at home and he has half his fencing in dark and half of it in light, just to show people how different it can look. And it's awesome because everyone goes, oh yeah, no, I can see it, because a lot of people are scared of color. My mother, everything is white, can't take her away from it. And when she sees something else, she goes, oh, that's really nice, but she just won't do it at her place. So, there's lots of people that are still very, very, very afraid of using color and doing things differently. But, when you see it, it's very different and they're happy to give it a go. But yeah, it's.
We used to have such bright colors in the retro days. The arches, the disco balls, the rainbow colors. And I feel like we're slowly gliding in. In Australia, we're a little bit behind, but in America, Europe, you see all these beautiful
Yeah.
dark homes, warmth, and you see more of that culture and the essence of people in there.
Yeah. And another
Where-
thing too, I mean, I'm I'm not going to preach what I'm about to say because my curtains here are white, but window finishings, have a bit of
Yes.
fun. If you don't want to do it on the walls and you are a bit nervous about things, put some beautiful luxe curtains in that, aren't going to cost the end of the world, because there's certainly different fabrics that look very similar to very high end products that aren't going to cost the end of the world, and maybe just something in a bit of depth, bit of color, a bit of tone. And it brings that warmth and that luxe to those rooms. There's a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have linen curtains. I would avoid it like the plague.
Oh my gosh.
Linen is like when you wear your linen shirts.
Yes.
So over time, if you don't want that sagging and that pulling of those curtains, I would avoid getting linen curtains, because that's what will happen. It will just start to stretch and to sag. Where if you get like a poly blend that looks exactly the same as linen, it's got the fleck through it, it will keep that structure and will keep that hold. And you can get it in some stunning colors. And I think, for sheers, that's definitely the way that I would go. So just yeah, if you're just not sure, ask.
The designer. Look, I love some of the points you said because a lot of the ideas and tips and hacks really kind of lean towards um, creating a home that feels beautiful. We kind of all want to kind of that hotel feel when we go into the place we're going to buy or live in. And what you said, about the walk-in robe, the master ensuite. If it's a couple, a lot of the time, the woman is the decision maker, right? And so we will do the walk-in robe for, a men's and women's one, but the women's one will have a few knick-knack things like, the shoe cupboard. It might have, the dressing table with the mirror and the lights around it. Um, because at the end of the day, if you go into a family, the women are the one who are going to be looking at the kitchen going, wow, I love that kitchen. Wow, I love my walk-in robe. So we will spend a bit more money there. But the men still get their walk-in robe too. I'm just saying they might get a few different items. So it's a little bit more um, customized, I guess, these days to people's homes. And love the window furnishings. People forget about them. Even in our townhouse developments, we will put beautiful sheer curtains in the living room, in the master room, even in the bathroom to create that warmth. Because we're going to bring the staging and furnishing. People just can't visualize when they're buying. We've got to really um, paint it complete for them so they can visualize themselves living in there. So yeah, more luxury, more um, hotel feel is really kind of where
Yeah.
people are leaning towards.
Another thing that's really it's very economical but makes a very big difference would definitely be your LED strip lighting. So under your vanities, underneath all your overhead cabinetry in your kitchen. You could even put it in the recess, in your master bathroom, along your niche. There's lots of little areas that you can put them in. But if you just have to put them into your lighting plan. So before your tiles go in, things like that. If it's all in the schedule, it's not missed. But they're just little key things, and they're really not expensive, but they do make a really big impact, and they just soften that room and finish it off nicely. So yeah, there's lots of things you can add in. You don't have to put Gaggenau everywhere. You don't have to. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like appliances, I think real estate agents are pretty lazy. I'll be honest, really lazy, and they go, "Oh no, it has to have Gaggenau, and it has to have this and it." That's all they know. So really,
Yes,
you need
true.
to inform them and educate them, because they've had it so easy for so long that everyone thinks, oh,
100%.
I'll just get into real estate. It's not that easy. And I think now buyers are becoming more educated on certain things. So, you know, I think that's a big thing. And that's kind of where I spend a lot of time is educating agents on what is going to work best and what is going to sell, rather than let's be lazy and just pop it on the
Yeah.
website. So yeah, do your research. There's some awesome appliances coming out, and lots of lots and lots of changes in that space, and what people need and want, and water saving tips, all that kind of stuff. But there's lots and lots and lots always coming out, and so many things that are changing. So if you, as I said, if you don't know, if you want to know, maybe you just want a little bit of advice, just ask. Yeah.
I think it really depends on, like you said, your budget to the target market audience to the location,
Yeah.
all those factors, right? But all the little tips you can put into based on your budget.
And I
To,
can go and on and on and on. But another thing I just have to mention is, obviously you're all aware of the stone issue
yes, tell
here
us.
in the heaps of changes in that domain. So, the old saying is there's a place for marble and it's in the bathroom. That is pretty true. And unfortunately, marble is stunning and there's so many beautiful pieces, and it's awesome to use in the right area. Um, but again, looking at that target market, who's going to buy your property? Is it a family of 4 kids and a mum and dad? You're not going to put Calcutta on the kitchen bench. It's just not feasible. It's ridiculous, and it's a waste of money. And in 18 months' time, they're going to call you back and say, this is not working. So, really looking into that. But there's, low silica, no silica products now back on the market. Massive influx will happen December, January, and moving forward. So many different stones. I mean, you've got very limited to, and when you start doing your properties, you'll start to realize that external barbecues are a bit of a nightmare for all
Mm.
cabinetry makers. If they're not undercover, there's no warranty anymore. You don't get your Caesarstone external stone. You don't get your Polytech warranty for external finishes. There's lots and lots of things to consider. So prefab barbecues are, without a doubt, at the moment, a builder's best friend, because the builder, it's 5 years in most cases that the buyer can call a builder, and it's on them as part of their building contract. They don't want calls, I can assure you, for products that are just not going to work, and look at your area of building, look at the functionality. Is it close to the water? There's many brands that now will not warrant door handles, kitchen cabinetry handles, anything like that, if it's within a certain distance to the beach, to the salt water, anything like that. So
Mm.
again, research into these products. Your builder will just say not using them. So,
Mm.
there's lots of changes in those domains. Outdoor stone, your best bet would be your porcelain. It's more expensive, and not as many stonemasons will use it. There's definitely more and more coming onto the market that will happily use porcelain because it's everywhere now. But that really is one of the only products that will warrant outdoor fabrication as well. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, stone, there's heaps and heaps of movement in that space, heaps more availability. Yeah, you'll probably find something for everybody, which is great news.
Oh, guys, I think you can know just from our short discussion from Bree that, this is why Jason and I will not choose our selection of finishes for the houses we do, because there's just so much information that we can't keep on top of. And yeah, having a specialist interior designer who knows your area will be able to help you put together design and that master spreadsheet, that your builder, your architect, your agents will be able to know and deliver a product that's going to be highly more profitable. Because, putting together this sort of thing, Bree, takes time, right? Even meeting with your client
Yeah,
to go through the brief, to then designing it, finalizing it. It's not for the faint-hearted, is it? Or someone with no
no.
design background. They can work with you. You can work with interior design, tell them what you like,
Absolutely.
you
And
know.
that's the thing too. It's there, you bounce off each other. Initially it's really good to have that initial meeting, and yes, I just saw someone's comment that they've used quartzite. Quartzite is a very hardy stone, and it's something that, it's fantastic to use. I use it with kids. It's a really good alternative to marble. It's not as pretty and as colourful as the options that you've got in your marble, but yes, it's a very hardy stone. I mean, you'll see every man and their dog using Taj Mahal at the moment because it's a quartzite. It's beautiful. It kind of has lots of different variations in the colour. And yeah, it just kind of goes with everything. But if you want something different, I mean, there's lots of different options. But yes, you're right. Creating these schedules, the initial meeting is definitely crucial. It's one that does take the longest. And I guess it's the most important to ensure that you're on the same page and the client's expectations are met, because they will without a doubt have a folder that they will send you to their Pinterest page, and that's what they want. And they're stunning, they're beautiful, and it's ensuring that what they've sent you, in some cases they've sent so many things and they're all stunning, but they don't really have the same look and feel. But in a lot of cases, there'll be elements of those images that they've sent through where you can say, right, well, obviously you can see a pattern where it might be the lighter timbers or lighter tones or the darker tones. So you kind of have to narrow down, hey, why did you send me those selections? And yeah, identifying those things with the client. Could be the coloured tapware, things like that. They might say, well, and sometimes it's easier to say, what don't you want or what don't you like? Because sometimes clients don't know what they like or what they don't until they see it. And then they say, nope, I really don't like that. So yeah, that initial one is really, really key. And there's some things that come up that they go, I don't really care either. So you might say, do you want your basins on top of the vanity? Do you want them inside the vanity? And they go, oh, I didn't really thought about that. There's lots of things that pop up in that meeting. You've got lots of different options. Do you want electric oven? Do you want your stovetop to be gas? Things like that. But there's lots of things that come up in that initial, and it's really, really important, that initial one. But they're involved throughout the process. Like, nothing is signed off until your client and your builder and yourself are happy with the finished products. So sometimes that might be taking your client to the showroom. And in a lot of cases, my clients are quite busy. They'd rather me just bring 3 different options to choose from, and they'll choose from those. And that sometimes makes it easier too, because in a way, when they do go to the showrooms, it's quite overwhelming for them as well. And they can get a little bit sidetracked, and they'll see something beautiful and pretty and well out of their budget. So sometimes it's not always better to go and look at all these options. It really is better to say, right, well, here's a couple of options that will work. You can choose from these. And they're happy with that. So sometimes and the same thing goes for potential buyers. I know some agents say, right, well, let's give them all these options. And let's not. It's like opening a can of worms. You don't walk into a property that's for sale and go, oh, gosh, I wonder if they'll give us an option for, these tiles in the bathroom. Well, no, that's what's for sale and that's what you get. And generally people are happy with it. That's why they buy it. But if you want to give them some options, by all means, give them some options. But I would limit the options, especially in multi-res. You might say, right, well, I'm going to give you 3 coloured tapware. You can choose from those. Or I'm going to give you an upgrade of timber. If you want timber in the bedrooms instead of carpet, you might do that. Or you might say, right, well, 2 colours of carpet, but keep it really, really simple, because yeah, you give someone and they'll take a mile. So yeah, you're only giving yourself a disservice by doing that, I think.
Yep, and I love that. And your interior designer should really keep it simple for you as well, because
Yep.
in a project there's all these other things happening, right? It's not just
Yes,
interior
there's
design,
lots
guys.
happening.
And I know some of you love the design part, which is great, but definitely outsource it, work with an interior designer, focus on getting the project delivered in the time frame, the budget, because every day adds up too. I know for those of you working on projects, you got to finish the project, right? You're paying interest up to
The
the
other
day
thing
you finish
I
itself.
would definitely like to emphasize is if you are set on something that meets your budget and everything's good to go and put your order in, put a
Yeah.
deposit down on it, whatever you need to do, because many times, sorry, we're out of stock just when your plumber says,
Yes.
right, I need all these wall fixtures and I need
Yes.
all the rough ends, and they're not there. So,
Oh my goodness. We were just talking about this before we came
yeah,
online.
put your deposit down. Make sure you tell them an approximate date that you're going to need them. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of cases they'll say, right, well, when's the cabinetry looking like it's in? Even a rough estimate. Okay, right, slab's due to be put in, February. I'm going to need these by, whenever. So a note is in the system. Everything's good. Most places, we use Harvey Norman Commercial a lot. They'll have the storage to be able to store it. It's the smaller ones you have to worry about. But if you can order something, pay for it, get that done, because I hear so much of that. Oh no,
Yes.
I thought our builder was doing it. Oh, I was meant to do it. Oh no, I thought the project manager was doing it. And no
Yes.
orders been put in and the doors aren't
Yes.
ready for 6 months.
One of my clients said, "Yeah, we're building a house, we're finishing it, but the lounge takes 3 months to order."
Yep.
Get made.
Furnishings are one nightmare, actually. Yes, furnishings are a nightmare. So put your orders in. Honestly, you might think, oh, I've got 6 months. 6 months is nothing in the building game, absolutely nothing. And it might say 3 months to your lounges in, but give or take,
Yeah,
probably
could be
another
longer.
couple.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, tiles are massive. They always do a run out. They'll always change. And also too, the batches are different depending on which tiles you get. So put your orders in. And if it's a little bit over, it's a little bit over. In most cases, if they're not unboxed and the boxes aren't damaged, I'll send them back. So that's kind of good. But yeah, roughly, give or take your 10% wastage, depending on what your tiler wants. But they're usually pretty bang on. In all of my schedules, I'll mark up every feature wall, the tile pattern, the grout color, everything's listed, everything's in the schedule. You cannot muck it up. So the tiler will know, right, I'm only doing that feature wall with those tiles. So your quantities are pretty bang on. But I would suggest that, your builder obviously should put those in. That's not really your priority. But just ensuring that anything special like a pendant light you want to pop in, get it and store it in your lounge room wherever you need to. But yeah, things things sell out. Yeah.
Yep, the earlier you start, the better. Okay, that's a tip there.
Yep.
So, Bree, we've got a couple of little questions. If you've got some questions, put it in the chat now.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you can email Bree and ask her some questions as well. Now, Bree, you obviously offer your consulting services for doing the interior design. Do you do just general consulting if, they want to know something for the kitchen or colors or something, or you want to do the whole
Yeah.
pack?
Yeah, we can discuss all that. That's fine. Just either
Yep.
call or email, reach out on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you need to do. Oh, actually, I don't have Facebook anymore. But yeah, whichever you need to do. It's
Yeah.
no problem. I'm
Beautiful.
happy to help.
Beautiful. Some questions there. Demon, look at the garage men, cave, and cinema room. I see those popping up, the cinema rooms. If you've got the luxury and the space, do you do
I
many
guess
of
it
them?
depends on the space. Yes. Space is a big one, depending on the development you're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I know from Amy's clients, it's a lot of multi-res. So they don't generally have that luxury. But if you do, fantastic.
Oh, oh. What do you recommend for appliances?
Totally depends on where the project is, who your target market is. Is it, that is how long's a piece of string, to be quite honest. I do have my favorites, but it would depend on the project, the budget of the project, yeah, your target market, where it's located, all of that kind of stuff. Same as tapware. Location is massive when it comes to tapware. Some just don't last. Yeah, and I would have to look at that, definitely. A lot of people are starting to, depending on the space as well, do an oven stack rather than a 900 or a 600. So again, looking at the functionality of the space, your potential buyers, where they're listed, yeah, that would all come into that.
There's a lot of different
Budget.
options, a lot more options than what we used to have, and
Oh,
also economical options these days with all the different brands.
definitely.
Can I ask, do appliances don't last as long as they used to in
That
terms
would
of
depend on
like
the appliance, I think. Yeah.
like aircon? Aircon like
Nah,
split.
right now we're using ours a lot, so I don't know. Again, brands, installation, all of that kind of stuff really does come into play. So in a lot of cases, again, the old saying like you get what you pay for, but there's definitely some that have improved immensely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, look, I think Good Builder is definitely a big part of the project for them to align you with the right suppliers. Sometimes you can't choose um,
Yes,
because
exactly.
they have
Yeah,
alliances already and good warranty with them. Um, but you can always suggest them to your builder, what you
yeah.
want to be quoted in the project, even if the builder's got the customized suppliers, and work with the interior designers to find out, because they have lots of experience dealing with different brands
And also
too.
talk to your builder too. You know that some are very, very open to discussing these options and being flexible. You know, there's lots of different builds too that I've worked with many builders, and some of them are amazing where they'll look outside the box. You know, a plan is great. Every builder has the plans, but some things just happen during the build where, you'll get a phone call going, look, come on site. We've got an issue. We can't, go as deep as we would have liked to, or this, we have to have this wall put here instead. And things happen. It does happen. And it's really, really nice to work with builders who go, you know what, we can make this happen by just changing this. And they will look outside the box, and it just makes the process really lovely rather than just like a builder that goes, no, that's, that's on the plans. That's how we built it. And it functionally just doesn't work, and finding the right builder is just so key to whether or not this process is fun and it's exciting or it's a nightmare. Um,
Seen
so
those, yeah.
finding that right builder is the key. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely get their references checked out by clients who have worked with them in the last
Yeah.
6 to 12 months, and talk to those clients and say, you know, how was he communicating, he or she communicating? Was there any variations? Was he on time? Was he on budget? Flexible to
Yeah.
change? All those.
Communication's really key. Things like,
Yeah.
lighting as well. It's in the schedule. What do you want in the kitchen, or what do you want as a feature lighting, maybe in the stairwell, things like that. But, in some cases, someone hasn't put the order in, and these things happen. Whatever, it's not the end of the world. But, you know, call the designer, or, be in communication and say, shit, I forgot to put the order in. What can we do? We need a resolution, rather than somebody on site just making a call to grab a basket light and whack a basket light in.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
it doesn't work with every build, and things are chosen for reasons. So just pick up the phone. There's always a solution. Or, you might get to the end and it's exactly that. And they say, we got to change something. We just can't budget that. Like right now, we can't do that feature tile. We can't do that light. That's fine. There's always an alternative. Just don't let somebody just make a whim, a decision on a whim, and it just doesn't work, because everything is chosen to create that flow and to create that harmony. Just, yeah, just keep that communication open. And all I say is, my job, as much as I would love to just hand the schedule to the builder or the client and say, farewell, this has been nice, it just doesn't happen. I'm getting calls, a year down the track going, oh, hey, this, they don't make this anymore. And I've had to go back and look at that schedule and go, well, that was so long ago. Of course not. But there's always a solution. So yeah, it's just one of those jobs where it's kind of just progresses as the build progresses, and
Yep.
sometimes that's a little bit slower than we'd like.
Yep.
But yeah, just communicate. It's really simple.
It's crucial. All right. So we've got one last question here from Trish. What about trends? How long do trends last for in the interior world? And do you try to stay away from them? So I joined
Yeah, I
later,
do.
so sorry if this was
Hey,
covered. Good, fair
no, that's
question.
all right. I think we've covered that in a couple of seminars that we've had previously. Trends are love them. I think you've really got to be careful where you use them, especially in projects like these where you're developers and you're on selling. So if it's something that is on trend, just be really, really careful where you use them. So, creating a purple kitchen is a big expense to change. Feature tiles, they're expensive. But, if you limit them, as I said, to say the powder room or your soft furnishings or a feature wall or wallpaper, these are things that, yeah, they're on trend now. They're easy to fix or easy to change for clients. Clients, yes, they want that luxe. They want that beautiful feel when they walk into a space, but they also want it to be livable. There is nothing worse for me than walking into something that's been staged and you've got Hermes boxes everywhere and YSL things hanging on the coat hangers. Like that, that is just not livable. It's silly. And it's, again, not looking at the potential buyer in those right properties. So anything on trend, just be very wary where you use them. If it's your home and it's yours to live in, very different story. But if you are pitching this to the majority of the market, which is what you want to capture, I would, yes, be on trend. And the thing that you've really got to remember when you're doing these schedules, and people do forget this, you're not building this project tomorrow. This is a schedule that needs to be on trend in 12 months' time, because that's how far in advance generally you'll do these schedules. So you're not doing them to build the next day or the next week. You really need to go, what's coming in and what are people starting to see coming in? What are they coming to like it? It's like fashion, the next season. And you've really just have to be mindful. You know, in the schedule, you might have a feature tile in the master bathroom, for example. You can easily change that when the tile orders are put in. Oh, actually, you know what? That's not on trend anymore. But the main tile that we've kept throughout that room is quite subtle. It's versatile. We can change that feature tile or just do a 6x6 floor to ceiling. Doesn't really matter. But those things, yes, they can be easy changed. I'm just very mindful of where I use what's on trend as such. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. You're really future forecasting. 12 to 18 months time, what do people want then?
Yeah,
That's what you
you
are.
do. You have to.
I love that. I think you're going to have maybe your job description is really future trend forecaster, right?
Yeah, and
It's
I think that's, yeah, anything design
true.
wise, unless it's something that you're shopping for to finish today, you
Not gonna,
really are. You're designing projects for 12, 18 months time, depending on where you're at and what your build extension would be. But yes, it's, and that's why you look at these futuristic type buildings and go, wow, that's an amazing thing for an architect to pull off because it's built now and it looks phenomenal, but they would have designed that 10
years
years
ago.
ago, which is,
Yes.
yeah, when you think about it, it's quite yeah, it's quite a phenomenal thing to pull off.
Amazing. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. Look, it's a big responsibility, and I think, yeah,
It's a big cost
everybody,
too, and I think people put so much into this that this is their future. They need this to sell, to get the next thing off the ground, to get things sold. And I think sometimes it's better to go safer than to do
yes,
something that's completely on trend that's great now and then it's just not going to sell because not everyone loves that. So yeah, just be mindful of where we're using these on trend things.
I love that, Bree. Lots of good tips today, knowing where to play it safe and where to explore and be adventurous. Definitely, reach out to Bree if you've got a project you want to ask her and get some tips from her for that. And, follow her on her Instagram. And, thank you very much, Bree. I really appreciate you coming on today to share your knowledge. And we want to keep in touch with what you do as well on your projects. I bet it's so fun to tap into some of the more on-trend stuff for yourself and, create that new way of living for people because it really is about the interior that makes the space when you're close to completion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming on
Hey,
today. And we
have a
look
nice
forward to
Christmas,
seeing you again
everyone.
soon. Thank you. a great
No
day,
worries.
guys.
Bye.
Take care for now.
Bye.
Bye bye.